Vetna says, Reverend Ed, yet again, I wonder if I did the right thing in defending my country. I can't believe what Trump is doing to Ukraine. You know what? Let's talk about that. Let's talk about that, because I'm sure most of you, all of you, have heard it. Like, was it last week? Some Senate visitors, U.S. senators, were visiting Ukraine, and they were meeting with Zelensky, and somebody handed him a note, and it said, turn over 50% of your mineral rights for military assistance. You have 1 hour to comply. And he, I think, ripped it up, threw it away, and said, no, I'm not going to do that. And now, as this week's gone on, and there must be communications going back and forth between the U.S. and Zelensky and Ukraine, and it looks like it's something that they're willing to discuss. That Ukraine is willing to discuss giving the United States access to its minerals, to its mineral holdings, to the minerals that are in its ground, on its territory. And I don't really know where I fall in on all that. If it was my country, during the Second World War, there was the whole Lend-Lease thing. Like, the United States, before you all entered the war, we were fighting it or my country, Great Britain, we were fighting that war since 1939. And FDR had put in place something called Lend-Lease, where the United States was making tanks and making ships and sending food and weapons and supplies, aircraft. Like, the first country to fly the P-51 was not the United States. It was Great Britain, right? Like, they were taking all this stuff, and I believe the Soviet Union also received equipment and stuff through the Lend-Lease program, and that was all. There was a contract, right? We'll give you this, and you will give us that, and we will give you this, and you will give us that. And sometimes it was territory rights that we could put bases and stuff. Sometimes it was money. Whatever it happened to be, there was a quid pro quo. I will do this, and you will do that, and that's the promise between us. There's a contract. I'm not doing this for free. I'm not helping you for free. Now, I think with the Lend-Lease, I think the cost was fairly small, but there was still a cost. There was still a you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours kind of thing. So anyway, right now, the United States, the Trump administration, the United States government is saying, we will help out. And I don't know the terms. I'm not sure anybody does, but I don't know the exact terms. But the United States will help Ukraine in its war against the invading country, Russia. And I think, oddly enough, after 3 years, we still need to say that Russia invaded Ukraine. It wasn't the other way around. Russia fired the first shot. They're the ones who entered into sovereign territory that didn't belong to them without being invited. They broke the cardinal rule of empires. But Ukraine has been fighting the war, and they want to keep fighting. They don't want to lose what they are. They don't want to lose territory. They don't want to lose a part of their country. They don't want to lose territory where their countrymen live. They don't want to lose homes and businesses and opportunities. They want to be Ukrainians. They want the borders that were agreed upon to be respected by Russia and by Russian allied states. I have a problem. As you can imagine, I have a problem with this, because the idea of helping someone, it's not supposed to be, if I scratch your back, you owe me a back scratch. It's not supposed to be a quid pro quo. It's not real assistance. I mean, ultimately it will help Ukraine get what they want, but at a cost. At a cost. And is that how we're supposed to act? Is that how we're supposed to respond to one another? Is that how we're supposed to be there for one another? I help you so that you can give me something. I provide for you so that you can give me something. I help take care of you so that you can give me something. You think about Matthew 24, I think it is, where the parable of the sheep and the goats, where Jesus says, whatever you've done for the least of these, you've done for me. He doesn't say when you help the widows and the orphans that you only took half of what you could. There's no consideration about how you would be repaid. The repayment is the favor of the Lord. The repayment is God's pleasure that you're doing this thing. The repayment is that you are giving sacrificially. It costs me to help you. It costs you to help me, however you want to do this. That's Christian assistance. I'm going to pay a price so that you can have what you need. I'm going to pay a price so that you can have your safety, so that you can have your food, so that you can have provision, so that you can have the things of life that you need to have. I will pay that price without consideration that you will ever pay me back. Because I see you as a creation of God. I see you as a beloved being of God. I see God within you. I see you as a part of God, and therefore, what I'm doing for you, I do for God. There's that great story of assistance in the New Testament. Jesus tells the story of the Good Samaritan. You've all heard it, and you've heard it probably offered in 1,000 different ways, and you've probably heard it offered this way. But the Good Samaritan, he was a Samaritan man who comes across another traveler who'd been beaten by bandits. He'd been robbed, beaten, left for naked in a ditch to die. A Jewish man, an Israelite. And the Samaritan, he's the only one of the people that go by, and Jesus mentions two others going by, two others who belong to this man's community, this man in the ditch's community, and they don't want to help, and they've got their reasons for it, but they don't want to help. They just keep going. They avoid him. They don't even look at him. But the Samaritan, this foreigner, literally a foreigner in this land, he sees the man in the ditch. He realizes the man in the ditch needs help, and he patches him up right there, right then and there. He patches him up. He washes his wounds. He dresses them. He puts them on his camel, and his camel's donkey, I think it was what was mentioned. He takes him to an inn. And even though he can't be with him for 2 or 3 days while this man recovers, he pays for the man to be looked after at the inn. And he goes on his way. Now he says to the innkeeper, and listen, and I think the innkeeper should get some credit here too. At least in our world, he should get some credit. He says to the innkeeper, I'm going to leave you some money. I don't know if it's going to be enough. If it's not, I'll be passing through in a few days, and I'll pay you the rest. And the innkeeper accepts that deal. So not only did the Samaritan do the right thing and provide for this man at his cost, the innkeeper takes a chance as well that the Samaritan will return and pay what is owed. And again, you could say the Samaritan also trusting the innkeeper. Well, you're not going to double up the price on me, are you? I have no idea, but I'll pay you what I owe you. These people, they help without consideration. I think about, especially, and maybe that's why I'm looking at this. I don't feel like this is an FDR Lend-Lease kind of thing. Maybe it's because I'm a progressive individual myself, and Trump comes across as not. But it doesn't feel the same. Maybe it's because of the way that, here's the note. You have an hour to accept our conditions. That's not assistance, that's exploitation. You're not helping, you're exploiting the situation for your profit. So maybe that's the difference. Maybe it's one thing to be paid. It's another thing to profit It's one thing to be paid when you help someone. It's another thing to profit off of a nation's misery, off a nation's turmoil, off their struggle. One is, well, even then, but it shouldn't be a matter that we should never be looking to exploit somebody's misfortune. We should be never looking to exploit what the oppressed, and Ukraine is the oppressed here. We should never be looking to exploit the oppressed for our profit. Heroes don't act like that. Real heroes don't act like that. Real heroes are the ones who, maybe I'm thinking about John Wayne. I've been reading Jesus and John Wayne again. I'm thinking about John Wayne, and I'm thinking about, I'll do this job for you, but it's going to cost you $10. And then after he does the job, he won't take the money, right? Because he realizes, no, this was about something more. It was about something bigger than $10. It was about something bigger than my time, or the risk that I took, or the bullets that I wasted. This was for you. Now, I think we've established what we think about Donald Trump's faith, and again, I'm not going to say he's this or he's that, but I think for a Christian nation, and lots of people want to believe that the United States is a Christian nation. I think for a Christian nation, we provide for others the way Christ provided for us, sacrificially. I think we give to others the way Christ gave to us, completely. Provided for everything that we needed to make it through. Provided for everything that we needed to defeat the powers of sin and death. That's how we move forward. That's how, and again, that's how we move forward as communities. That's how we move forward as families. That's how we move forward as provinces and then states. That's how we move forward as countries. That's how we move forward as a world, as an international community. Despite the fears of globalism, we are an interconnected world. And for this world to truly prosper, we got to be willing to give. God, it can't all be about profit. Amen.